You're listening to Second Cut. This is the podcast where we talk about topics in film theory, criticism, history, and whatever else strikes our fancy. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who unfortunately left the film magazine out of the intro this time.
Yeah, sad times. I'm Sam. I'm covering up my sadness with a funny hat this week.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one that didn't prepare an intro.
Oh, yeah. So we need to start here. Very sadly, the film magazine has ended. Officially, the last day was December 31st, 2024. And we'll be carrying on here, but we wanted to give a quick in memoriam to celebrate the people there and our time there and all of that before we get into 2024 roundup. I guess this is a 2024 roundup. It happened in 2024.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the official post from Joe, he says, this is good, or the whole team, but I mean, Joe wrote this. I'm like 99% sure. This is goodbye. It is with great sadness and our deepest thanks that we announce the closure of the film magazine effective December 31st. We started our journey as a humble Tumblr blog and grew to an online publication with more than 3.2 million freely accessible words on cinema, more than 2,300 articles, 20,000 social posts, hundreds of film-related merchandise designs. We had some videos too. We have this podcast, which again will continue, so that's a plus. Yep. But yeah, I mean the amount of work Joe and the entire team put into it is amazing. And Amelia in the chat here says that you have a great hat, Sam. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Can I just say thank you for joining once again, Amelia? Consistently coming back to support us. Thank you.
Yeah. So what sad things do we have to say, guys? Or happy?
I think it's a sign of the way kind of media, film criticism, media criticism, anything like that is going. Really, you've got to generate like clickbait, sadly, and clickbait is worthless dog shit, basically. And if you have some kind of I don't know, some principles, you actually want to, write about stuff that's actually important, that matters, that's worthwhile. It doesn't get the clicks, it's really hard for those kind of outlets to, keep afloat, unless you just go for like the lowest common denominator and trying to generate controversy. It's a sad state of affairs.
Yeah, I think the way that a lot of media outlets, and again, it's not just us. The past year, a lot of places have closed down. It was it's not Total Film, was it? Which was the print film one that went down? It was Total Film.
It was Total Film. Yeah.
That went down, and that was kind of not as big as Empire, but it was a fairly decently sized print film thing, at least in the UK, and that went down in November after Gladiator came out. That was the last cover. I think the way things are going, it's either you run something small yourself and you put everything in a voluntary basis essentially, or you completely commercialize it with like an entire board of investors, that kind of very corporate. We run this as a business and our goal is to operate as a business structure. There is no in between where you can kind of almost like a cahier de cinema, kind of thing. I think Sound and Screen still going, but that's an offshoot of BFI, isn't it? I think.
So it's Sight and Sound is affiliated with BFI, I think.
So again, unless it's a kind of thing, bought by a larger corporation, I think it's almost virtually impossible to do it. Essentially, crowdsourcing yourself the materials.
Yeah, and for a new publication to get started as well, it's the reason why so many kind of areas of journalism are criticised as like being the profession of the middle class. You need to have the luxury of already being comfortably well off. To dedicate time and effort to writing. To kind of fuel your passion and put the effort into it. You can only really do that if you're not worried about like where your next paycheck's going to come from. And, and film, any kind of media criticism doesn't really pay the bills, unless you're one of the bigger outlets, and there's so few of those which can keep going.
unless you are essentially working for one of the kind of the dailies, newspapers, kind of,
Yeah.
one of the broadsheets essentially. It's kind of you do that, or you essentially go into the kind of more mass market kind of, I'm going to say comic book related kind of thing, where you're writing listicles on things like Marvel and DC and those kind of big franchise things. Places that are profitable for independent film criticism, or films of like smaller films and things like that, pretty much don't exist now. You do them out of, your own love, or a big corporation hires you, like Guardian or something like that, to do that. It is virtually impossible to do it now.
And one of Joe's big things was not wanting annoying ads. We had ads on the site, and I guess we still do. I don't know. It's open until 2030, so you could go there and read all of the great work there. So that's a plus. But like, Joe very much did not want that. There was no sponsored content. There was no AI writing. Nothing to just make sure something's getting churned out. Like, it was all 100% human work and effort, and especially on Joe's part. And so, I think that's admirable, but yeah, definitely not sustainable in today's media market. But that just is what it is. And
I will put the thing in and say, I like to think of this is goodbye for now, possibly, because the site is still up until 2030. So if several people manage to convince a chain of ownership, or Joe manages to come back, or something like that, there is still the possibility of its return. But we're kind of, it's a bit like, we are technically officially dead. But like a horror movie icon, there is always the chance that somebody can bring us back out of the dead. But if it's the last one, we went out swinging, kind of thing.
Yeah. I like to think more that it's adieu rather than goodbye. It's let's not say it's 100% definitive, though it kind of is for now. But yeah, you never know. Further down the line.
And Second Cut will continue in the spirit of things, and I don't think we're 100% sure how we're going to do things going forward. If we adjust little bits, add, take away, we're not sure how we're going to do it, but we will continue as a podcast of some form, doing the same thing that we've always done, which is three white guys shouting into the void about film. Essentially, realistically, that's our job. It's the most bland content possible, but that's our job. So
yeah, and Amelia, you bring up a good point that reviewing is going the way of YouTubers. That is part of the reason why I drove this to YouTube. Like, that's where people are. That's what people are watching, consuming. I don't like saying consuming media, but I mean, it's the stupid term we use for it. So
I was going to say, we're not going to 100% blame Jeremy Jahns and Chris Stuckman, but we're 100% blaming Jeremy Jahns. No,
well, and it's not even just them. Like, it's all the weirdo right-wing people, like the critical drinker, the sort of social culture warriors.
I mean, we're trying not to get angry about things that don't actually matter. I think if we're showing our passion, if we are getting works about something, it'll be worthwhile getting works up about. It'll be a genuine controversy, not just they cast a black woman in this.
Yeah, and that's why I also chose to do this. We don't do short form content. We do in-depth, long videos, and we want to actually get into what we're discussing and give thoughtful, effort-filled content, and not just here's 10 movies you need to watch, and then it's a bunch of stupid stuff. Like, I'll write listicles because people do like them, but we do them in a way that has meaning and effort and all that. It's not just here's 10 cool stupid things that are gonna make you click on this video.
And I mean, you guys know I've been saying this for ages, that I've christened the kind of movement, and I'll justify this by saying mainstream Hollywood franchises, because that isn't the complete entirety of film, but those are essentially in what I call the Easter egg era, which is that you put a load of stuff in purely for the creation of thousands of videos going 40 things you missed in the trailer. and that is essentially your marketing
Yeah.
campaign. Those videos
Yeah.
are your advertising.
Yeah. You don't need a marketing department anymore, because the people, the obsessives on YouTube will do it for you.
Yeah, and I am certain that Marvel put nods in, not for the fans, but because that will work their marketing for them. So they will go. You'll get a note from Feige going, "Can you put like a visual which is like in the back of a shot somewhere that's a reference to Iron Man 2, so we can get everyone kicking off thinking, is this character going to return 13 years later, kind of thing." I am sure that is what happened. Even if they have no intention of doing it, they do it purely for the trailers, for the marketing, to get more people in to see it. Doesn't work for things like Craven, but that's besides the point. I'm sure we'll come on to stuff like that later.
Craven was sold on the back of unrealistic abs, just terrible CGI abs.
I mean, I haven't seen it, so I wouldn't know. But again, one thing that TFM never kind of, as much as it could, never did things purely to get the clicks. It never, I'll say, still doesn't, if we are continuing the spirit. It kind of does what it wants, and thinks it's good enough that if people come to see it, they will enjoy it. It doesn't kind of not sell itself out, but you know what I mean, almost commercialize itself. And I mean, it's only my opinion, and Joe can come on and completely disagree with this because it was his decision and his child decided to part ways with. I think TFM was at a point where it was too small to run independently, or too big to run independently, and it was at the stage where, in terms of kind of file size and the actual like computerized management of it and paying for subscriptions to run the thing and file storage and virus checkers and all that kind of thing, you would be at the point where you needed to fully commercialize it to try and keep it going in such a way without killing yourself off mental health wise. And it was just,
or resorting to AI.
Or resorting to AI. Well, that is a way to essentially do stuff without killing yourself off mental health wise. You just throw it to somebody else. Because I mean, if it's one guy formatting everything, doing all the graphics, doing all the editing and whilst trying to have a life yourself, you just can't do it. I think it was just a stage where it had to go one way or the other, and this is the way it went. But at least we didn't sell ourselves out to another company to get taken over.
On a more positive note, the film magazine did release its first and, I mean, possibly only ever magazine. So you could go get that for £2. We got the link.
I don't know what the dollar is. Probably like $2.50, $3, something like that.
Yeah, or you know, I couldn't tell you the value at all, the difference. So I'm not even gonna make any jokes. It's 100 pages. You get
$2.46.
There you go. It's cheap, very cheap. Not cheap. It's very good. It's a good magazine. It's inexpensive. So go get that. Download a digital
good
copy.
value is what you want.
Yeah. It's 100 pages of some really good exclusive stuff. You know, lots of lists and fun things and analysis. Yeah, well worth your time and your money.
And all the money goes to the writers. And Amelia, we do not get sent free movies. So studios, hey, if you want to send us free movies, we will talk about them. I can't say that we will be honest about them. I will say that.
Yeah, that is the one thing that I did very much enjoy. I didn't do a lot of them, but I did do sort of 4 or 5 screeners that we did used to get sent for TFM, and that would open up. So a couple of them this year that I saw that are 2024 films. So there's the Nicolas Cage film, is it Arcadian, I believe. That I reviewed that, and that was through a screener. I think it was Arcadian. I can't remember the exact name, but it might have been Arcadian. Which is an interesting one. Yes, it was, because he'd done several in the recent years. And I did Flag Day, which was the Sean Penn film that came out a few years ago. And I'll also give a shout out to Sister Wives as well. Little short film that is in the BAFTA long list at the moment. So congratulations. That's great.
Yeah, last year I got to review a screener of Black Dog, which is a really interesting Chinese drama.
Oh, okay.
About a dog wrangler falling in love with like one of the strays. That was a really interesting one. And through the film magazine a few years ago during lockdown, I had the privilege of interviewing Rob Savage, about hosts when that first came out on Shudder. So that was fun. Yeah, that was an opportunity I've never got without Joe's connections with the film magazine. So yeah, I was very grateful for that.
Yeah, and obviously he did the Boogeyman last year, so he's on to bigger and better things. Considering he's just again done a Stephen King movie, essentially. It's like in horror you don't get much bigger than that. So
no.
It's good, yeah. But we at Second Cut do not get sent these things, and to be honest, we're so small. I don't at the moment. I don't think it would be right for us to do that kind of thing.
Those other YouTubers are very lucky, though.
Yeah, I mean, we get sent a screening, and we'll do something, or we'll interview a guest, and it gets 3 views. You know what I mean? So maybe in the future.
I don't care how many views they get. That's not my problem.
Maybe in the future. That was my point of view, anyway. But yeah, so TFM. I will say possibly forever, but at the very least temporarily closing its doors to any future publications is definitely, I think, our major takeaway from 2024. But yeah, go buy the magazine. It's great.
Well, let's go ahead and get into our 2024. Oh, Sam, did you have something about the film magazine? Sorry.
No. All I was going to say is it's kind of down to us. We still love talking about movies together. So that's mainly why we can carry on. It kind of falls to us. To keep the discussion and the passion alive. And just encouraging people, to broaden their horizons. Watch widely and varied, the weirdest stuff you can possibly find, and tell people about it. And just spread the word. That's kind of why it's important, to keep on stuff like this, really.
Yes. Okay. Now on to keeping on with 2024 movies, and I'll give Amelia's question first. I hadn't considered that with Baby Girl, Nicole Kidman has gotten back into kink after Eyes Wide Shut. I personally didn't see it, but did either of you guys get to see it?
I've not seen it yet.
No, it's in cinemas at the moment, and when I managed to get out, I was thinking of trying to see it earlier this week. I think it came into cinemas last Friday, something like that. Yeah, but the snow has hit, and my icy roads. I don't want to risk it because it's an hour drive.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm hoping it thaws enough for me to go see Nosferatu on Sunday at the moment, but I will try and see it at some point. I mostly want to see it because it's the director of Bodies, isn't it? So,
oh yeah, it is.
Which I really enjoyed. So I'm interested to see what she does next.
It's like at some point I will possibly next week if I have the time. I will get into town. One, because I need to anyway, but two, because there's now 3 films out at the moment that I want to see. Baby Girls, A Real Pain is now out in the UK, and also Maria is out as well with Angelina Jolie. Did get nommed for the Globe, I think, for that. So all 3 of those I do want to see, and having at the end of last year gone and invested in Cineworld Unlimited, now it's like you can see as many films as you want within the 12 months completely free, just walk in. So I'm kind of waiting until they're all blocked up and just seeing them all in one go to save my fuel. But yeah, all 3 of those I do want to see.
Nice. And then James had the question. Well, kind of a he gave us topics for us to discuss, which is always great. Because otherwise we would just be reading through lists of movies. James wants to know, what is your most underrated film of the year, favorite scene, and biggest letdown?
I mean, biggest letdown.
Yeah, Kieran, go first for all 3 of these.
I mean, biggest letdown, not for me because I saw it coming. But I think theoretically for a lot of people, the biggest letdown would probably be Megalopolis. In terms of the kudos behind it.
Yeah, so it wasn't that definitely because I didn't really have high expectations for it, but equally I wasn't expecting it to be quite as bad as it was.
Yeah, see, I was on like film Instagram and Twitter and that you know, and for about a year beforehand. I mean, I remember when it was announced in like 2021, and it was like, yeah, Coppola's putting 120 million into his own like movie called Megalopolis, and I went, I'll believe it when I see it. And then he was actually doing it, and everyone's like, "Oh my God, Coppola's got a new 120 million, and all these. It's going to be amazing." And I'm just like, "No, it's not. It's not going to be great. It'll be decent at best because he hasn't done anything of general note for the general public in about 30 years. What are you expecting? Just because he did things 30 years ago does not mean he can do it now. You know, a lot of people could play football 30 years ago and can't now. Like it's
My main thing was, he's had this churning over in his brain, for over 3 decades, and you think in all that time, you'd refine the ideas a bit. You'll have come up with something like really good, just not this very basic philosophical kind of conceit. It's like, have you ever noticed the US is a bit like the Roman Empire? Funny that. I can't believe I've never thought of that before. And
the trouble is,
just hammer it home. We'll just hammer it home. We'll give everyone Roman names, and then just to make sure the stupid people in the back really get it, we'll have people state what they represent at that point in the film, and kind of what the general argument behind this passage of the story is. It was very kind of first baby's first kind of philosophy paper, wasn't it? It was just
Megalopolis it was like, oh, it's been 30 years or 40 years in the making, and it's like, well, what actually happened with Megalopolis is instead of distilling down the ideas, he's just added them in and kept them there. So it's not been 30 years in the crafting, it's been 30 years in the adding. And that's all it was. It was everything together. And on the Roman Empire thing, a lot of Western countries have an issue because the Roman Empire, we love the Roman part, we hate the Empire part, and you can't have both. So it's kind of like the UK and the US and lots of other countries have kind of conflicting things when they compare themselves to the Roman Empire. It's like, yes, we like the science and order, and it's like, and all the other things the Romans did and stood for? Well, not really. It's kind of a bit odd in those cases from a modern lens. Megalopolis is kind of... if it had been made 30 years ago, it might have had a chance. The trouble was, it came out in 2020.
Scene, it's so bad. Like, there's no scene that I think of where I go, yeah, that was a good one. It just every moment of it is so pointless and stupid.
I will say at least Aubrey Plaza commits. She definitely does something in it. I can't tell if it's good or not, but it's not unentertaining what she's doing. I think
somebody should have told Coppola to get back to the club. Aside from that, which is not a GIF yet. I have not seen it like properly memed yet. I've seen it once or twice, but it's not everywhere, and it should be. That is the only good takeaway from that film. Now, a lot of the scenes are like, it's passable. But when you put them all together, it then becomes a absolute mess, and it's a travesty, and it's a waste of good talent. And in the nicest way, even though it's his money, it's a waste of 120 million. Like, I don't know what the point was.
Yeah,
and then he goes
you
around
can go
and says,
read my review at the Film Magazine until 2030.
Yeah, my favorite thing with that is essentially Coppola's going, oh, everyone just doesn't understand cinema, and it's your fault that you don't like the film. It's not his fault that he made a bad movie. No, it definitely couldn't be that.
The problem is we do understand. We understand too well, and you're just beating us over the head with it. Okay, I get you. Let's just do biggest letdown. Sam, did you have another biggest letdown?
I mean, yeah, it's hard to argue with Megalopolis, but for me, something like Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes was quite disappointing. It wasn't bad, but I just, after like the previous trilogy, which I thought was near enough flawless, I thought it was a really good kind of modernization of that kind of material, from both storytelling and like a technological kind of leap forward kind of perspective. And this one was just a bit, it was all right. There were some cool bits of eagles, but yeah, I'm not going to go back to it. I think I've already forgotten most of it.
I will get round to it at some point, but the trouble is I'd only seen the first of the trilogy when we did our Planets of the Apes episode, and I'm like, I've got to
Oh,
then
yeah.
sit down and watch the other two in order to get to that
Yeah.
fourth one. I'll do it
Yeah,
at some point.
Yeah, I mean, watch the other two because they're great. They're probably the best the franchise has ever been. And then this one kind of just leaps forward. And you could probably watch the new one without seeing the other two, but I wouldn't recommend it because you're skipping the two best ones.
Yeah. I will also say that I wasn't a massive fan, and Sam's knowingly about to get outraged on this. I wasn't the biggest fan of Godzilla X Kong New Empire. I can't remember exactly what I said in my review of it or what I gave it, but it wasn't stellar. I thought it's kind of stupid fun, but the trouble is you can do stupid fun and have it actually have some brains behind it as well, and this one didn't.
So I think me and Jacob kind of embraced the stupid fun. I think we got a lot out of that.
I don't even remember it, but it was dumb. So
yeah.
And the thing is, like, I'm not saying like the 70s Godzilla movies weren't stupid, because they were, and I'm not saying they were great, because a lot of them weren't. But this one was just like, and especially I think it also had the issue that, I mean, Godzilla versus Kong, or Kong versus Godzilla, whichever one it was, the 2021 Godzilla film, that at least had some style behind it. You know, like the neon kind of beat 'em up scene that had some style and a bit of kind of individual flair. This admittedly had a zero gravity fight, which was vaguely fun, interesting, like from perspective wise, but it also had stuff like somebody goes into a room full of cave paintings they've never seen before and instantly narrates the entire backstory without a breath, without literally seeing it for the first time. And this happened, and this happened. Not, oh, we could probably interpret it like this, but actually we've got some archaeological drawings that actually the culture says otherwise. So it could be no, it's instant that. There's also the flying back to get the glove for Kong. Like, we've had about an hour journey to get here, movie time, which is about like 6-7 hours actual time, and then he goes back and gets this glove in about 30 seconds, and it's like, what are we just completely
are you saying it'd be a better movie if that was in real time?
No, I think it would be a better movie if they haven't got the glove and they'd worked out something else to do.
It's like in Game of Thrones where they get over the wall in about a year and then get back the other way in about a week. You know, I don't care. Just keep the story moving. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, there's just too many things where it's like they hadn't thought this through. That and the fact not only did you come off the back of Godzilla X Kong, or Godzilla versus Kong, also literally like 4 months before you'd had Godzilla -1. And it's just like this.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not patch on Godzilla -1. I mean, that's like, you know, that's like comparing like some fine art in a gallery next to like a Happy Meal toy. You know,
but it's like
even comparing Surf Nazis Must Die to Schindler's List.
But I mean, like 2014 Godzilla, like, had scale and it had size and it had weight to it. Everyone complains we don't see Godzilla enough. But, like, it's reintroducing Godzilla. I thought you saw it enough and got enough glimpses so that when it was proper.
Counterpoint, 2014 Godzilla is boring. Godzilla X Kong is many things, but it's not boring.
I mean, I'll give you that 2014 is definitely slower, yeah. But I will also give that there are some shots where it's just like, oh, it's just gorgeous. I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying it had heft and it had weight. Skull Island... There are some stupid scenes, but there are also some genuinely very good bits of craft in there as well. For example, when the helicopter goes down and there's like a whole thing of it going down shot from inside the helicopter, and you just see everything rotating. The sound design is really good. King of the Monsters, at the very least, had all the monster reveals, which are glorious.
Yeah.
2021 had some style to it. Godzilla vs. Kong. Godzilla X Kong New Empire was just stupid. And you can have fun with the stupid, but that doesn't make it an actually good film.
My biggest letdown of the year, I mean, aside from Megalopolis, because that was my answer, is Maxine. I love Pearl. Pearl is one of my favorite horror movies to come out in the last 10 years or whatever. And, you know, it's got like the musical and the fun stylization to it. and the Technicolor, and then you get Maxine, which is, I mean, it's fine, and that's the biggest problem. Is it's fine. I really don't remember much of it. I get she's like a porn actress in the 80s, and her dad was a preacher. So I think it's the girl from the first. Look, honestly, it's all just, The first movie is way better. The second movie is miles better.
I do kind of. For me, I think X is my favorite of the trilogy, and I really like Pearl. I think that's going to be one. Maybe it'll bear up another watch if you just watch them back to back. I think there are references, throughout, in amongst all different installments, so that might help. But it's definitely not there with the other two, but it was fine.
I was going to say it was okay. It would have been okay as a kind of giallo on its own, if that makes sense. But if you put them all together, it doesn't hold up that well. There was another film that I was just thinking of that I wasn't a massive fan of.
I mean, let's be fair, Kieran. That's most movies for you.
I mean, yeah, but I was the guy that was like, "Oh, there's an awful horror movie. I'll go review it."
While you look real quick, Amelia said Fall Guy was her most disappointing film because you have Ryan Gosling. It looked like a Jason Statham movie, but it turns out it's mostly about like the love interest and their relationship. And I didn't see it, but I do know there's a director's cut. That's what I'll be watching whenever I watch it.
I didn't mind Fall Guy. I found it quite charming. I mean, it's not much new, but apart from real stunts done, well, because it's directed by a former stuntman, so you kind of expect that. It's a pretty kind of classic kind of comedy action romance type thing.
Yeah, it's almost like
I'll say it's revolutionary, but I thought it was pretty well done.
Yeah, there's a kind of comedy, almost not in the way that the fight scenes are done, but almost like a Jackie Chan kind of mentality about it, that we're going to have fun with the action scenes. It's not groundbreaking in any way. It probably could have been. I mean, what was the budget for it? It was around 200 mil, wasn't it? Probably could have made the same movie for half that. The trouble is, your main cast are probably chewing up the 100 mil.
I think and that was one that was possibly could have had legs if they'd have just left it in cinemas for a little bit longer, but they pulled it quite quickly when it didn't hit it opening kind of weekend predictions, and then went streaming. So I think
that's the thing now. Everyone
a lot of money on the table there. I think
that's the thing now. If it doesn't make like 200 million in a weekend, they'll go, "Oh, it's a flop." It didn't. It still made like 170, 180 mil. Like, can we think for a moment how much money that actually is? Like, that is an unthinkable amount of actual money for anything to like be like. People have like died for like 100th of that. It's insane the amount of money that is, and we're going useless, did nothing, kill it. If I actually was very upset that Ghostbusters Frozen Empire didn't make as much as it should have done.
Did that come out this year?
Yes, it did.
Oh my.
It wasn't the greatest film of all time, but it at least tried some interesting things and wasn't as bad as everyone said it was. I think I gave it something like a 13, 14 out of 24, somewhere around there. So it wasn't like groundbreaking.
I mean, is that your underrated movie?
No, that is not my underrated movie. That is my just general shame that it didn't make as much money as it did.
Yeah. Well, real quick, what was the movie you were gonna say, and then go into your underrated movie, Kieran?
I don't think it was a letdown. But the last act of Trap that I called a couple of weeks ago. It starts off so good, like such a good premise.
The first half is solid,
Yeah, but the trouble is, I think what Shyamalan worked out is that you can only drag the premise out for so long, and he realized I've still got another 45 minutes to make up from somewhere.
Yeah,
and he hadn't kind of planned for that.
I was actually thinking this has to wrap up now. And then I was streaming it, and then I just looked down. I was like, 40 minutes to go. How? What are you
Yeah.
going to do in this?
Yeah.
40 minutes?
Should have
It's-
expanded the opening, not the ending. But
Yes.
you gotta get your daughter front and center and advertise
Yes,
her music career.
The trouble is, it
But-
it
but by the
reveals
way,
the.
I was going to say she may have a decent voice, but how bad an actress is his daughter? Oh my god,
Not great.
Just-
She's an adult, right? I could not feel bad saying that.
Is that who
Yeah, she's
plays
an
Lady
adult, yeah.
Raven? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah.
not
Like,
good.
here's the thing: Lady Raven as a character is interesting, and it's an interesting switch to suddenly shove her as the by the way, spoilers. To shove her as the protagonist is an interesting idea, but again, it's like, he went, yeah, we're gonna have it, and it's all gonna take place here. And then he got to the hour mark, and there was going to be like a 10-minute finale outside, because that's what you do for these things. If you have to go anywhere, it's like 5 minutes outside. And then kind of went, ending it here is stupid. I've still got another 30 minutes. And then he just kind of didn't know how to end it. So just tacked another bit on, another bit on, another on. And then it just kind of got repetitive for the last 30, 35 minutes. I'm not saying it's my biggest disappointment, because the first hour...
Well, because you
It's
already said your
really
biggest
nicely done.
disappointment, also.
Yeah, and it can't top Megalopolis. And the first hour is genuinely good. If he'd have shoved... The trouble is, the reveal for what is going to happen comes in at like the 10, 15-minute mark. If you had another 10, 15 minutes there, and then just works the ending to it and make it a 90-minute thriller rather than like an hour 50, and keep 90 to 85% within that area, and also have a better twist. Because there is no twist. They try and make it a Shyamalan twist. It's not. Then Trap would work, and it's got so much promise, and just the second half just goes, no, we're going to waste it all, and it's just so annoying.
All right, most underrated.
My most underrated movie was Transformers 1, believe it or not. Because I'm a Transformers fan. The Michael Bay film sucked. Bumblebee was better, but this is what I want from a Transformers movie. It's it's a lot, it's visually dazzling, kind of inventive, a different enough take on the source material. They give them like a sort of a previously unknown kind of origin story, which kind of. I know I've seen quite a bit of that. The hero and his arch nemesis used to be friends back in the day, but it's well done, and kind of their relationship kind of growing organically. Chris Hemsworth does a good Optimus Prime, believe it or not. And Brian Terry Henry is great in everything. It's I just really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it, and I think it's what I want from a Transformers movie. It's kind of, it doesn't overdo like the fan kind of reference type stuff. It's a solid animation, with a fun story and some really good action. So yeah. And typically, because it's probably the only good Transformers movie we've had in a long time, no one went to see it, so we're not going to get any more like it. So thanks a lot. They'll go back and they'll say, "Oh, what was the last Transformers movie to make money? Oh, it was those Michael Bay ones. Well, there's more of those."
Yeah.
So,
I didn't go to see it because I have no interest in Transformers. That's the reason.
Yeah,
I've yet to subject myself to the Michael Bay movies.
I think my most underrated. I was looking through this list of movies that came out this year to really try and figure that out, and I think my answer is it's not going to be surprising that it's underrated, but it's going to be surprising that I'm picking it. Joker Folie à Deux. People online hated it. It made very little money. Somehow got made for $200 million. But I just watched it on streaming and had a good time. Like, I knew it was going to be a stupid musical where nothing really happens. And spoiler, he dies at the end, and I don't care. I didn't.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing. I can't say it's good, but but also I was kind of strangely fascinated by some decisions they were making throughout.
It is fascinating.
And you credit to Lady Gaga. She gives it her all.
Lady Gaga is a good actress. That's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, probably the only actual song in it I liked. I really liked her version of If They See Me Now from Sweet Charity, when they're both escaping, when they're running outside after the fire, it's a good version of that song, So
And I don't know what people were expecting. Did they think like, oh, Batman's going to show up and we're going to get this really cool. I don't know what you were expecting when you heard it was a prison courtroom drama with Lady Gaga and the Joker doing a musical.
I've got to give credit to Todd Phillips for the big middle finger he gave like DC fans, basically. It's balls on that guy.
And that's better than going, oh, but we're going to do, he becomes the No, that's dumb. I liked what this was for what it was, and I'd rather see superhero movies be weird and take dumb chances than just crank out the same junk over and over again.
Yeah,
it's definitely the second best superhero movie of 2024, which isn't saying a lot, but it's also factual.
Yeah. And then for the other movies that I liked, I mean, they were probably just properly rated. So, Kieran, did you have one?
I'm now going. Did I see? Am I thinking of a film that came out last year or the year before? No, it did come out this year. I thought that Sting from earlier in the year wasn't awful, and it was a lot better than it got any credit for. It wasn't great. But I had fun with it, and I wanted to do some more stuff. I say it wasn't great. I think I gave it something like a 15 or a 16, something like that. So it wasn't like groundbreaking, but it was a nice, fun little kind of contained thriller with a giant spider, alien spider that goes and eats people.
Yes. See, as a committed arachnophobe, I'd already had my giant spider quota from earlier in the year by watching Spaceman, so I didn't need to see another one.
I mean, the thing I liked about that is they didn't try and hide its origins. Literally, the opening credits kind of thing is like a little pod crashes like into through an apartment window, and out crawls a spider, and the spider crawls around like a little like doll's house as the kind of credits go at the beginning. So they're not hiding the fact that this is an alien spider that's going to eat people, and it loves that. And it's got a really nice performance from she's the same girl that plays young Furiosa. I can't remember the actress's name.
Yes.
I'll look it up now. Who does
Is
a
it
very
Alina
good
Brown or
Lila Brown?
Alila?
Yes.
Yeah.
She does a very good job for the fairly limited film experience that she has. Very good child performance. Again, it's not absolutely groundbreaking, but it certainly is a nice, fun little horror movie that went under the radar.
And she was really good in Furiosa as well, considering she basically carries the first half of that film.
I mean, Furiosa, I have now got my review up on my blog because I watched it about a month ago. And Furiosa is like, the trouble is Furiosa tried to do like
that was a bit of a disappointment,
but it also like then threw in so much CGI for the action movies, and the action movies tried to go overboard. It was like, oh, we're going to throw all these dynamic camera stuff, and we're going to have it CGI. Even if it's all practical, it looks like CGI, so it's bad.
I think the main problem with Furiosa is that it's not Fury Road. Basically, people are always going to compare it to that, and it's never going to succeed, is it?
And I mean, there are some other things that I saw in the year that kind of didn't get the praise, and there's a kind of elements of stuff. So something like The Critic, there's issue with it, but Evil Ian McKellen is great. Something like Lisa Frankenstein is stupid but fun stupid, and I love that. Like, it's black. Not all the jokes land, but when they are landing, it's just like, sod it, let's go there and see what happens. It's that kind of morbid stupidity that's great to watch. And then even just little things like the John Williams documentary that came out right at the beginning of the year. It's completely conventional, but who doesn't want a documentary on John Williams kind of thing? But in terms of completely underrated, I would say that I do want to go back and watch Sting again.
I saw the trailer for Sting, but I didn't actually end up watching it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean, just going back to on the giant spider front, I would say Spaceman is underrated. I did really enjoy that when I saw it earlier in the year. You know, if you want to see Adam Sandler and an alien spider floating around in space, having a philosophical debate and a bit of an existential crisis. It's
Okay,
it's,
now
it's
I want to see
definitely an
that.
interesting. It's definitely an interesting one. Yeah, Paul Dano, voice of the spider. He's got a very soothing voice.
I'm gonna go with favorite scene first, and mine is, I put a lot of like 10 minutes of thought into this, and I really like the arena scene in Dune 2, where they're on the planet with the infrared light, where like
Fade Routher's introduction. Yeah.
yeah, people are wearing black and they move into the sun and their clothes turn white, and God, it's so awesome. Yeah, just that whole sequence, but especially in the arena, seeing like the not the nuns, but they're dressed like that, and the big fat guy played by Skarsgård, all that good stuff.
Yes. See, June 2, I would struggle. To decide between that scene and Paul riding the sandworm for the first time. They're both awesome scenes for different reasons. I mean, the sandworm one just for the scale. So it's obviously it's the most CG heavy scene in the film, but I don't know. It's somehow got weight to it. You really do feel like with the ground moving below.
He is the one.
Yeah.
The Harkonnen stuff interests me so much more, honestly. I found myself kind of zoning out during parts where it was like, what's it? Paul, that's his name. It's such a dumb name. But yeah, his part of the story was not as interesting to me as the bad guys.
I mean, my issue with that is a really niggling one. I mean, Dune 2 is a very good movie. It's not like the greatest thing since sliced bread, which everyone seems to think, oh, it's the best movie that came out this year. No, it wasn't. But it was a very good film. My issue is that my favorite character from I've read the first 3, and apparently like 4, 5, 6, he starts to go off on one. He starts to go off on one in Children of Dune, but that's besides the point. My favorite character in at least the first book, the original Dune, Alia. Partly because I love the name. She comes in about 2/3 of the way through. This is Paul's sister, who's played in about 3 fleeting shots by Anya Taylor-Joy. But she's like a decent character for like the last third of the film. She comes out because of the spice. She becomes like a 5-year-old within about 3 weeks, but with the brain of like a 30-year-old kind of thing. Really interesting, and can kind of very quickly kind of fire back sarcasm and wit like that. And we get about 3 flashes and just like, nope, what would he have done if he's not making Dune Messiah? You just killed the entire character. We're going to tease a character that we're not going to use. Just fuck off. Give me my character.
They apparently thought it was less weird to have go the prevenge kind of route and have Jessica's fetus talking to her, controlling her, rather than actual psychic infant.
And it's like, of all the things that are happening in Dune, that's the bit that we're going to have issues over. Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Who's next on underrated scenes?
Favorite scenes, even.
Oh yeah, favorite.
My favorite scene was from Honora, and I've called this scene Annie Goes Beast Mode. Basically, it's when the thugs are breaking into their house, and they think they're just going to subdue this helpless frail girl, and she kicks their asses. I just love how it goes on and on. Every time you think it's kind of winding down and like she's been subdued, she'll turn the tables on them again and just do more damage. It's amazing. I mean, Micah Madsen, that scene, she's great in the film, but she's particularly great in that just for the sheer ferocity of just not giving up and swearing her head off and causing extreme physical pain to these two burly Armenians.
And to be fair to them, they don't want to hurt her. So
no.
I'm really annoyed I didn't manage to see Honora, because in my nearest cinema it was out for like a week. Well, actually no, I'd have to try. It wasn't out in my closest cinema. I was, I think, around Cardiff when it was out, and it was out for about a week and a half, but I was doing other things. So it just wasn't anywhere near me practically for a long enough time to actually get to see it.
Yeah, it didn't come to my city. I had to go to the next city over, like at 11 o'clock in the morning to see it.
Yeah, and
It was a struggle for
it's
me.
like when I live half an hour away from the nearest 2-screen cinema and an hour away from the nearest 8-screen, like which
Mm,
doesn't get everything. Like there is
yeah,
just some stuff where it would take me, it's essentially kind of not worth the price of the fuel just to go and get to it, if that makes sense. And that is one of the issues with living in the middle of nowhere, that I don't get to see a lot of stuff because it doesn't get to me. And there's a lot of films that will come out, and Sam will know this as well, that literally unless you live in London you don't see.
yeah,
um,
yeah.
it's just like that, and normally those are the ones that get the Oscar noms,
Mm,
and then they suddenly realize, oh, we're going to release this in
yeah,
10 cinemas across the UK,
yeah.
because like, I was looking, because Alice Lowe had a film called Time Stalkers that came out
Mm,
this year that I wanted to go and see, and it was in
mm,
about 5 cinemas in London. I'm like, well, that's
yeah,
pointless, isn't it? I feel really
yeah.
bad. She kept posting like, come see my new film Time Stalkers. I'm like, it's Alice
Mm,
Lowe doing like jumping
mm,
around madness
yeah.
through time zones. I would see that.
She
I can't.
she literally had to beg on Instagram followers, just say, please get in touch with all your local cinemas and ask them to show time
Yep.
stock, because they're not going to if you don't show an
Yep.
appetite for it. You know.
Uh,
So things like that I just can't get to.
I was surprised Sean Baker made the funniest movie I saw this year. Didn't expect that going into it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's very much his most mainstream kind of crowd-pleasing film to date,
Absolutely.
even though it's still about sex workers and gangsters, and mostly kind of films like handheld documentary style. It's yeah, it's a joy.
Kieran, did you have a favorite scene?
Um, I think, yeah, probably looking through the stuff that I'd seen, um, I will actually go for Hugh Grant's big monologue in Heretic.
Which I've still got to see that. So
Like
Me
that's
too.
I have issues with the ending of Heretic. I think it makes it less interesting than it could have been. Um, but Hugh Grant is amazing, and a sort of 20 minutes in, he gives a big pretty much a monologue for about 10-15 minutes as his kind of slightly sinister kind of philosophy teacher mode, serial killer bent in the eyes. And it's like, there's no way like 10 years ago you would have seen Hugh Grant doing this, but it's so kind of out of character, and he does it so well that like the rest of the movie could have been absolutely awful for all I care. It's not absolutely awful. It's a very good film aside from the last 10 minutes in my eyes. But that's just an opinion of where the film goes, and just I didn't think that
yeah.
one worked. But
It's
that
it's
scene like is so good because he everyone else can, like, they could be plastic for all I care. Hugh Grant just running around delivering a lecture, essentially. It's like slightly unhinged, and you know something's going on. Is so good.
it's possibly an interesting future pod episodes, like the many phases of Hugh Grant's career.
What, going from to
Yeah.
slightly sinister, an Oompa Loompa bad
I
guy
was,
in Dungeons and
yeah,
Dragons, and like a psychopath.
I would say the turning point was probably Cloud Atlas. Where they got to play a cannibal in one of the
I have
tracks,
yet to see
stories
Cloud
gone.
Atlas because it was only a couple of years ago that I read the book, and it was so hyped up by one of my lecturers that when I read it, I'm like, I get it, but I don't care for it. And he's like, "Oh my god, it's the greatest book ever written. I'd do an entire module on it if I could." I'm like, I don't get it. So I'm kind of putting off seeing the film because I'm like, I didn't really care that much for the book.
All right. And I guess, did we want to go through our top 3 or something like that? I know me and Sam have that, but Kieran, I didn't know if you made one.
Do you have a
I
top
can
3
come up with
films?
one. I know what would be my number 1.
Well, what is it? We
Have a
can go
guess.
1, 2, 3.
You do yours first, and I'll.
I mean, one thing I will say, so it's not in my top 3, but it did round out my top 10, and it's just a film everyone should see, and that's hence the hat. It's Hundreds of Beavers. It's just, there's nothing else that was like it that was released last year. I mean, it's a $150,000 marvel. That they filmed it over 2 winters in Wisconsin, just a cast and crew of about 8. You know, they could afford about 6 animal mascot costumes, and then they just, you know, duplicate everything else with, you know, kind of home kind of bought kind of special effects kind of software, and it's just a mad kind of slapstick kind of black and white silent comedy thing about a fur trapper basically getting get in conflict with like woodland creatures who give him the runaround, basically, and constantly outsmart him. It's very Wile E. Coyote essentially, but with a human.
It comes to Shudder on the UK tomorrow. Like, if we'd
Yeah.
have done this a week later, I would have seen it. I apologize.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's just so kind of bold and bizarre and just completely its own thing, and I respect the hell out of it, even though it is just a series of skits essentially, but really clever skits though.
Yeah,
Oh.
I can give a top 3.
What's number
Alright.
3 for you?
I am weighing up between, purely because Jacob is going to go, well, that's a 2023 film.
I don't care. Just do it.
But Poor Things was released in 2024 over here. But if we're going to go, that's a 2023 film. Then
no, don't, because that ruins my list.
Yeah,
too,
so. y'all can go ahead and talk. I'll abstain.
Well, I'm gonna put that equal purely for if you want to class it or not. Then I will put it roughly on the thing with Twisters, because Twisters was underseen, and for a big blockbuster kind of thing, it was underappreciated and it was good fun. It does what it needed to do, and I had an absolute blast with Twisters. I don't care what anyone says. It's not Twister, but like in terms of big kind of action movie kind of things that you want, it's very good. And Glenn Powell's great.
I think was kind of sorely lacking in those kind of literally 90s style kind of thrillers, you know, which just got kind of, if you got charismatic leads, you kind of forgive a lot of sins. You know, if they're just really magnetic and you care about what the character's going through, then that's half your battle done. You know,
charismatic lead at least. I'm not a fan of the female lead personally, but
you know, no, I think Daisy Edgar Jones is good.
In this movie, I should say. I'm not. This isn't about her as an actress. Just in that movie, Glenn Powell's such a big personality, and yeah.
I was going to say, it is essentially, they saw Top Gun Maverick and went, what else can we do? Let's do Twister. But you know, it kind of works on its own leg, and it works as its own film as well, which is great. It's not a complete remake, but it's not a sequel, and it's just kind of it's very nicely done and very well done, and I had a blast with it. So
yeah, okay. Well, my number 3 was Robot Dreams, which is a delightful little kind of dialogue-free hand-drawn animation. So it's set in like an 80s New York, populated by anthropomorphic animals, and a lonely dog orders a robot online by mail, you know, to be his friend essentially. And they, you know, they become inseparable, but then the robot gets lost, and the dog spends like a year trying to get him back while the robot's rusting on the beach, basically. But it's, I think this is like, I think animation still, even now, even after things like Spider-Verse, I think it's still kind of looked down upon by some kind of film fans. And I think not only is animation cinema, but it could be therapy as well. This is very much, it's like this is a very kind of affecting and kind of emotionally mature kind of film, and it's, you know, dealing with things like, you know, grief and loneliness, and just kind of finding your place in the world. You know, it's some pretty big themes, but all done just with this lovely kind of hand-drawn animation and like gentle humor, and you don't need words to kind of say that. It's entirely kind of fit, you know, kind of visually portrays, and I thought it was charming.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think, don't put animation in the same category with everywhere else unless it's Spider-Verse or Miyazaki, and that's about it. And it's like, well, no, the two can very often go between. Actually, I am now going, crap, Wallace and Gromit 2024 as well.
Well, I mean, 2024, whatever else it was and wasn't, it was a great year for animation. You know, between, you know, between this Wallace and Gromit, as he said, Inside Out 2, I thought was good. The Wild Robots.
And Flow comes out this year, which just won the Golden Globe, which I
Yeah.
am kind of excited to see.
Yeah, which I'm guessing will probably not come to my city again.
No, I was gonna say it comes out, but I'll catch it about 2 years later when I find it on Sky. And now I just realised that Wallace and Gromit is there. Oh God, that might be. I don't know.
My number 3 was Challengers, and that's one everybody got to see at some point in 2024. Thankfully, came out early in the year, and it tells an exhilarating story, but of a love triangle between these tennis players who met in a high school at a tournament, and then they go off to college and have pro dreams and aspirations, and we kind of see them where they're at in their lives currently, and all of that backstory is intercut. And man, it's it's exciting, it's titillating, it's very horny, of course.
It is very good.
I do admire him. Kind of Luca. It's probably one of his sexiest films, and it features the least amount of actual sex of any of his films. I think
it's erotic, but it's not sexual.
Yeah. It was good. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah, and like all the performances are good. Obviously, the 2 actors, they've gotten more on my radar now, and like that one of them's in like The Bike Riders, which I know Kieran wanted to talk about at one point. They've both been
underseen one. It was very good. Yeah,
they've both been nominated for. They could play like live action mice or rats. I saw that as well. But yeah, just overall, like Challengers is great. It's really fun to watch too. It's not heavy for like how dramatic of a story it is.
Yeah.
Am I at number 2 now?
Yeah,
Sure.
I go for your number 2.
Annoyingly, having said all that, Wallace and Gromit actually might come as number 3. It was right down the bottom of my list, so maybe. I know.
I was going to throw in we could like get another freebie at some point. So at the end,
2 and 1 are locked in pretty much, and number 2 I will say is Conclave, which I did not expect going into it, and it is so damn good. And Ray Fiennes is. Ray Fiennes, John Lithgow's, Stanley Tucci, but especially Ray Fiennes is like that is the performance of a lifetime. Like if he'd done nothing else except that one film, we'd go, you can retire now.
And the one award he'll win, he'll be at the BAFTAs. I'm putting money on that now.
He will at least get the BAFTA noms come out in the next few days, don't they?
Yeah, because he'll be shut out. I mean, he'll probably get nominated for an Oscar, but he'll be shut out of the Oscar win by either Adrian Brody or Timothée Chalamet. So,
which Timothée Chalamet?
I presume for a complete unknown.
Oh, he is really good at that.
Which you saw last night, didn't you?
I did. It's fine.
Yeah,
that is my review.
Conclave is so good. Like there's a little hiccup towards the end that I'm fairly sure was a leftover from the book, maybe. And they have to give everybody some kind of.
Are you talking about the final twist?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is in the book.
Yeah. So it'll be a hangover from the book. Again, they have to give everybody some kind of secret in order to keep the kind of the thriller plot working. It's just kind of I don't know how impactful that is.
I mean, but just what I liked about it was just some like real naturalistic kind of moments of like kind of slight comedy to it. It's like there is something funny about just seeing a cardinal in his full regalia vaping or trying to operate a photocopier. It's just
it's, essentially like there's some bits where they're almost acting like kind of school teachers needing to do some handouts and kind of stuff like that. And you get like moments of really kind of good cinematography and beauty. And one of the things I liked is that there are occasions when like all the sound drops, including the background noise, the room tone. So when a couple of them are having kind of conversations in the corridors, Ray Fiennes and like Stanley Tucci or something like that. Like normally you'd have some kind of background noise. No, they literally cut everything, and it's so quiet and so kind of tense. You go, one of the best thrillers of the year is going to be a load of cardinals. in a building locked in, and you go, what? And yeah, it's so good.
Yeah. I mean, so my number two isn't a million miles away from that. It's like an unexpected thriller and kind of small scale and everything. And it's the German film The Teacher's Lounge. And basically, the premise for that is someone steals something from the staff room, and then an investigation is started, like in the school. And like this teacher is basically accusing a colleague. She's accusing students, and her colleagues get pissed off. Her parents get pissed off for accusing their children. And it just escalates and escalates from there. But it's like a really kind of clever, twisty, turny, small scale kind of mystery. And yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised by it, and it made me think, God, why would anyone want to become a teacher? They're just so petty. And
Yeah, I did supply in high schools for a year and a half. It's a dodgy world, I can tell you.
Yeah,
But sitting in the staff room is quite funny.
yeah,
if you go
yeah,
to Sam's top 10 list at the film magazine, most of it will be, oh, I need to see that movie because I've never heard of it.
Yes.
yeah. I don't think there are any blockbusters on my list. I remember. I'd have to check again.
Sam's hat
but-
shows
but-
he's a hipster.
But yeah, basically, yeah, it's just single location, kind of petty and harmful human behavior, kind of naturalistic acting and dialogue, and just some real kind of intensity and kind of visceral emotion to it. It's a good one, and I recommend it. And it's only about an hour and a half as well, so it won't even it more or less moves in real time, I think. So yeah.
My number two is Nosferatu, which Sam is hopefully going to get to go see, and Kieran.
It's like, I mean,
he might need a boat to like journey to the theater.
Snowmobile probably is the better one. It's like I might have possibly put that in a top 10 if it had come out a day earlier, but for us it came out New Year's Day, so I'm not.
Oh yeah, well it came out for me on Christmas. I saw it 3 times. I love it a lot. It's definitely an Eggers movie. It is a remake of Nosferatu and not some weird amalgamation of Dracula and Nosferatu like Herzog went for. And obviously, the original film was a unlicensed adaptation of Dracula.
The only reason it survived is because of piracy.
Yes,
into physical media. So
his widow was not cool with Bram Stoker's widow was not cool with Nosferatu. But yeah, thank goodness it's still around, and Eggers took it in his direction. The vampire is not the same weird looking elf bald guy. All right, it is what it is. He's a walking corpse. It's really good.
And actually closer to the description of Dracula that you have in the book, which does have.
Oh, there you
go. The reason I know this is because I am starting to reread it because I have a conference article paper to write on Dracula and a Paul Tremblay novel, so I am starting to reread Dracula ahead of that in May. But when you get it, for example, it literally says in here is an old man, cleave shaven, save for a long white mustache, and that's what I've seen a lot of people going, "What the hell? Dracula doesn't have a mustache." It's like, yes, he does. Yes, he specifically has a mustache.
Here's the thing with Eggers is he makes naturalistic, supernatural films. So like he's going into this trying to go, what would a Romanian count look like? That's what he's then basing his monster off of. It's not, well, what did it look like in that old movie, and we'll just copy that. Because let's be real, that's lazy. I think it's better to give your own interpretation and presentation of things.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully I'm seeing it on Sunday. But my favorite bit of trivia I've read about it is he used the same castle that Herzog did in Eastern Europe for this.
Yeah.
But he made sure to shoot different angles of it, so it wasn't as obvious.
I didn't know
there are parts where he's running through it. I mean, I watched the Herzog film the day before, so I kind of got it fairly fresh in the mind. And there are points where you go, yeah, the castle. There's a lot of just kind of white plaster walls, and I'm like, yeah, that looks the same. It is a very good and very beautiful film. I have some issues. I did put a review up on my blog that I'll occasionally update with stuff. I thought I have the same issue with. I thought The Northman was better. One of my issues with this is that Eggers has an amazing ability to craft beautiful, like painting-like shots, but he just keeps everything like 10-second shots, and sometimes the flow does need to pick up at points. It works for like the surreal, dream-like state that he's going in, but as somebody that's also kind of an editor for fiction as well, I am very conscious that sometimes I feel like, okay, we need to just give something to give a bit of life, and it occasionally does that, but occasionally starts to fall a little bit for me where I want just a little bit of just the shot like length to vary a little bit, to give a little bit more tempo. Just there's a couple of moments where it starts to drop for me, and there's weird things with the dialogue. So there are times when Lily Rose Depp will talk like she's from the 1830, and then Aaron Taylor Johnson, some of his dialogue will sound like it's from 1970. And it's just like, what? There's just something about the syntax occasionally that's slightly off for me. But overall, it is like a very, I think I gave it like an 8 out of 10. I'm not saying it's a bad film because it's a very good film, but it's weird and it's not perfect. So Sam ticked those two off my bingo for me. But it is a very good film, and I do recommend going to see it.
Kieran, what was your number one?
Substance, move on.
Oh, yep, mine too. We did a whole episode about it.
Yeah. Like we can move on now.
Yes, it's amazing that both Substance, Anora, and Conclave. They'll be in my top 20 when I publish it on my blog, but they didn't quite make my top 10. They were just outside. They were kind of,
Sam's going for extra clickbait.
Yeah.
I mean, we should probably go. What are the if not the biggest disappointment was Megalopolis, but what is like the worst movie you watched from 2024?
So are we doing this for? We're doing our number one?
Well, let's Sam. What's
Sam's
your
done his number
one?
one with Hundreds of Beavers, and me and Jacob have done them
as
Substance.
No. Hundreds of Beavers was my extra, and that was 10 on my list. I've done, yeah.
Oh, I thought that was your number one.
No, my number one was Poor Things.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think it was. I think it just fully deserved all its gongs. It's just so mad and beautiful and brilliant and twisted, and it's I love it. I mean I love any version of the Frankenstein kind of story, really. And I think Yorgos Lanthimos is probably my favorite weirdo auteur of the moment, really. So I mean, he's had a hell of a like 18 months or so, collaborating with Emma Stone, because they did this and Kinds of Kindness back to back, pretty much, which is an interesting, not as successful, but interesting kind of anthology kind of movie. But yeah, it's just purposefully kind of exaggerated, kind of intentionally kind of artificial, kind of calling back to like the staginess of like early films. It's very much like a Méliès kind of air to, especially like the Portugal scenes, I think. And Emma Stone, she's just a force of nature in this, and surrounded by equally kind of good kind of character actors, basically being the best they've ever been. People like Mark Ruffalo and Willem Dafoe. I just I really enjoy this. I was lucky enough to see this at a film festival. Actually, in 2023, when it did come out for the.
Sam, you saw it in 2023. Interesting.
So I did. Yes, I did. But yeah, I think it's a really unique and memorable thing, and I'm sure I'll be going back to it time and time again. It's funny and kind of entertaining, but kind of also really dark and twist elements to it, and it's got an actual point to it, 'cause it's about emancipation and kind of liberating yourself, and kind of all these wrong attitudes to kind of gender dynamics of Victorian era. But then you realize, hang on a minute, half this stuff is still going on today. It's like we haven't changed. It's like a fantasy version of the Victorian era. She gets away with, she actually manages to self-actualize more than many people can do today in the real world, which is kind of depressing in a lot of ways. So,
Kieran, do you want to hit?
It's a special one.
Kieran, do you want to hit Wallace and Gromit, since we already talked about The Substance?
Oh, Wallace and Gromit, so good.
Mm.
Like it's not the best of the series. I updated my rankings for TFM just before we went
I
down.
would say it doesn't need to be an hour 20. I think the first half it takes a while to get going, but the second half is flawless for
Yeah,
me.
when it gets going, it gets going. And the thing is, Aardman's done with such craft and just love of
Yeah,
everything that it's just one of those ones where you watch it and you're going kind of, I am glad to be watching this, if that makes sense. You know, it just fills your heart that they went and decided to spend years of their life moving little men around and dogs and animating stuff like that for weird kind of Skyfall references. And I swear to God, there is a Final Destination reference in there as well. There's a bit where kind of water pours on the floor and moves around into a crack, and I'm fairly sure that's like the water in the first Final Destination. I don't know, but it's like nobody else would think to animate a plasticine penguin version of Batman Returns with the submarine. Like, it's just who the hell would do that? And you're like, I'm so glad the British are just slightly insane,
Mm.
because you need that slight insanity to do
yeah.
it. And oh,
Yeah, it gave me two of my biggest laughs of the year, and they were both to do with Feathers McGraw because it was him going up to the submarine, being kind of being serenaded by the gnomes, but he pushes the one playing bagpipes in the water.
yeah,
And then the other one where he kind of the canal boat chase at the end where he turns around and he's dressed as a nun.
yeah, it's just it's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, Wallace and Gromit. I mean, it's I think I put it fourth on the list of six, but the trouble is, like, everything else is just the entire franchise is so iconic. I mean,
Yeah,
out of we haven't got like the nominations for everything. I mean, it will get BAFTA nom for best animation, at the very least, and probably Oscar nommed as well. They'll put it in there. Which, if it does, that is 6 films with 2 features and 4 shorts.
yeah,
With well, so far out of the 5 before this one gets nommed for anything, it's a 100% Oscar nomination record with a 60% win rate, which is insane.
yeah.
It's got to be the best for any franchise aside from like Lord of the Rings, but of 5 installments is ridiculous, and a 60% conversion ratio is ridiculous. So I hope it does get something. And it's not up against a Miyazaki movie this year, so he won't be upset when Curse of the Were-Rabbit wins over Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
And I mean, in lieu of talking about the substance, I'm gonna divide my time between juror number 2 and queer. Juror number 2, don't go into it thinking it's 12 Angry Men. It's not really like a courtroom drama. It's about juror number 2. It's about Nicholas Hoult. So just go into it expecting that.
Just saying, juror number 2, another film which I think came out for like a week near me. On like one showing a day kind of thing, where if you're not free for that or can't get to it, you're not going to see it. It was something I wanted to and just couldn't get to it. And queer as well, I think I was looking at, and just it was there for like a week on maybe 2 showings a day. I just couldn't find the time.
Again, Lucas had a busy year, just like Lanthimos, just
his second release this year, and it's not quite as good as Challengers, just because that's good, but Challengers is like, it's more charismatic, I'd say. But what I think is interesting is how he sort of detaches it from William S. Burroughs and his persona, and it makes it more just a story about queer love between the 2 characters in the book, and instead of it being like, this is William S. Burroughs, and this is blah blah, I think he's done a good job of making it his own work.
Yeah. All right then, guys. I want to. I don't know if we've got any more to do, but I want to give a quick quiz to you two for if we're going to the end of 2024. I've got up, so please don't look, the top 10 box office worldwide. So I'm going to give you a chance, and we'll do it like this because I won't ask you to put them in position. Name in the top 10, and they'll tell you if they're in there or not.
Inside Out 2.
Inside Out 2 is on there. What position do you reckon it got?
I'm going to go with 2.
Incorrect, Sam.
I think it was 1, wasn't it?
It was the biggest grossing hit of last year was Inside Out 2, and it is in like the
Yeah.
top 10 or 15 of all time
Yeah.
now as well.
Yeah, it is the highest grossing animation of all time, isn't it? Already,
I think so. Yeah. So Disney take number 1 with Inside Out 2.
I think
So
they also took 2 because I think it was Deadpool and Wolverine after that.
it was Deadpool and Wolverine with 1.338 billion, which, let's be honest, Marvel kind of wanted that. Yeah. Okay, so that's 2 down. What else do you reckon was in there?
Gosh.
Was Moana in there as well?
Moana was in there. Do you want to guess the position for a bonus point that we're not counting?
4.
What do you reckon, Jacob?
I don't know.
It was 4.
Okay.
With 962 million. Didn't break the 1 billion.
Oh, Wicked's on there.
Yeah,
Wicked is in there
definitely.
at number 6 with 682 million.
Nice.
What else were the big hits this year? I'm trying to think now.
Beetlejuice.
So close. Beetlejuice was 11th.
Ooh.
And it got 451 million. So it did not make the top 10.
Sam, do you have a guess?
Was Despicable Me, was that in there?
Despicable Me 4 was at 3rd.
Yeah.
With 969 million. So it made 6-7 million more than Moana.
Well, with that, I'm going to guess the Garfield movie.
Garfield is not on here. It didn't go out of the top 10 at least.
Bit of a wildcard. Did Venom crack the top 10?
Ooh.
It cracked the top 10.
Yes.
478 mil.
What about
No accounting for taste?
What about Dune Part 2?
Dune Part 2 did make it. Do you want to guess a place?
No.
It came in 5th with 714 million.
Wow.
Okay. So which numbers haven't we got?
I'm gonna go
7,
with
8, and 9.
Godzilla X Kong.
Was on there. 7th, 8th, or 9th, Jacob, do you reckon?
It's 8.
7th.
Okay.
And the other two, one's gone blank.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
No, that came in at 14. That only made 397 million.
Oh,
I say only.
Mufasa.
Mufasa made it in 9th. 481 mil. There is one movie left. If you get this, I will be genuinely surprised because I bet all of us forgot that this actually came out and weren't looking to see it anyway, probably.
Oh gosh.
No, I'm drawing a blank.
I'm going to guess top 10. Didn't expect. Didn't see it. Kung Fu Panda 4.
Exactly right. Kung Fu Panda 4.
Look at me. I have a list of the release schedule of 2024.
So it's a pretty typical top 10 then, isn't it? Full of family movies and sequels.
Family movies, sequels, and blockbusters. Yeah, the only one that wasn't a sequel or prequel to a realistically was Wicked.
Yeah.
Spin-off.
Well, it is obviously.
Yeah, there's a spin-off
of an established thing. Yeah. Okay.
I'm looking down for the highest grossing film that wasn't based off an existing film property.
I think wasn't it that Blake Lively one? From,
It was. It Ends With Us.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I've just found Garfield. It was 21st with 234 million. It beat Joker and didn't beat A Quiet Place with 261 for a horror movie. I will say
Garfield.
For the horror stuff, no. A Quiet Place making 261 million worldwide. Alien making 350 mil worldwide.
Yeah.
Literally, It Ends With Us beat Alien by about $140,000. It was very close. Twisters, if you class disaster movies as adjacent, was 15th. Like Beetlejuice is like goth, it's like family horror, was up there as well. Like Godzilla, class Godzilla as horror adjacent, got 500. Like horror's not done that bad.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a great year for animation and a really good year for horror as well. I think in general. I mean, So we talked about earlier in the year. You know, we talked about like Immaculate and The First Omen. You know, both pleasant for me, pleasant surprises. You know, and then things like Long Legs and Strange Darling, things like that. You know, really unexpected stuff. But
yeah,
I mean, I watched Cuckoo the other week. I mean, that's definitely an interesting one.
It is interesting, yeah. I mean, even things for horror like Eczema, which I haven't yet seen, made 93 mil. Terrifier 3 made 88 mil. Trap did 82 mil. Substance did 78 mil. Speak No Evil somehow did 76 mil. Smile 2, I do not know how that has made 138 million. Like the first Smile, I didn't like that much.
Yeah,
I don't know how Smile
I mean, to close it out, shall we say what we said we were going to do? Shall we all say a film we detested this year?
Real quick, a film I didn't detest. Go see Drive Away Dolls. If you liked Margaret Qualley.
Yeah, she's a lot of fun in that, isn't she?
Yeah.
I mean, between that, Substance, and she was in Poor Things as well. So yeah, she and Kinds of Kindness. Yeah, she's had a busy year.
I'm now very quickly on TFM looking back through some of the ones I did to see which one I rated the lowest.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm actually joking because I think we may have the same one, Kieran. When I say it, you might agree that it was the worst in this year. Shall I go first?
And this is excluding Megalopolis.
Yes, it's excluding. Yeah, because that was definitely down at the bottom of my list. Yeah, but not quite.
Okay, what are you saying, Sam?
Okay, the worst thing I've seen this year is The Strangers Chapter 1.
That was very bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the lowest I gave it.
My one-line Letterboxd review for that is, if the horror of the original was like a fine whittling knife, then this is a wood chipper. It's just there's just nothing elegant about it at all. It's just
I gave
so
it
clumsy and moronic.
I gave it a 7 out of 24. I don't know whether there was some weird things that I was like, oh, one or two of the actors didn't do an awful job, that kind of thing. Let me just check a couple more. But yeah, Strangers Chapter 1 is essentially what happened is they went, oh, we want to do a sequel to The Strangers, but we haven't got the setup for it. I know, why don't we just remake it and say it's the first part of a trilogy? Yes, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, they went, oh crap, we killed them all off in the second film, and they're not supernatural. Yeah. We're gonna have to go back.
Yeah, which is why the designs of the masks are very, very slightly different. So they can essentially go, oh, it's a remake, but it's not a remake. It's a new thing. They're new. Who are they? Who knows? I'm just double checking.
My answer is going to be Subservience. It's a sci-fi thriller about an AI, a sex bot. Maybe she was some kind of.
Is that the one with Megan Fox?
It is, yeah. She's some kind of android, and it's really dumb. It's like people know AI exists, and that android, like it's like an idiot tried to make dumb Blade Runner. Like I don't know how else. It's bad. It's very bad. It's not entertaining. Yeah, just don't watch it.
I wanted to try and check a couple more, and my FM has gone down for some reason.
Yeah. I mean, others that were kind of competing for my worst. Megalopolis was down there. Borderlands was terrible. As everyone knew. It was
Why did you watch that, Sam?
I watched it recently just for the morbidity factor because I needed something dumb.
But Sam probably saw it in theaters.
Did you review it, Sam?
No, I didn't. No. No, when it became available for rental, I just thought, oh, why not? I've got a night to kill, and yeah.
And if your brain cells
You
to kill.
spent money on it.
Yeah. I'm a big Hellboy fan, so the Crooked Man was a particularly painful thing to get through. It's like each version of Hellboy gets steadily worse, and I mean I mean, don't get me wrong, the Del Toro films most work because they're Del Toro films. You know, they stray pretty far from the source material, but each time they try and do a more faithful kind of to the comics Hellboy, it just goes wrong. It's just kind of brown and
Yeah.
just depressing. And the Crow again, it wasn't an interesting enough new take on the material. Really, it seemed a bit pointless to me. And Madam Web is objectively bad, but kind of in an entertaining way. That's the one of those I might actually go back to at some point. It's just funny.
I didn't hate
just
watching
put it on.
it.
Yeah, put it on with a beer. You know, it's yeah, it might work on that level.
Yeah, I'm thinking I gave a couple of 4s out this year. So I can't think of anything that was massively worse. So judging by the things that I've actually reviewed and given out, I will give equal awfulness to Night Swim, which was very bad.
Night Swim's pretty bad.
Is that the haunted swimming pool?
That is the haunted swimming pool. Put it this way, the 3-minute short film it was based on was better.
Okay.
The one that was made for about, I don't know, a packet of donuts. And also bad was Tarot, which is not good.
Tarot was also bad.
This is very bad. I can't remember if Tarot was also Blumhouse, but we have a common theme running along here. That Tarot can make awful jump scare horror movies that they know they can make for about 7 mil, that will make about 35 mil and run off that. I can't fault their business model because it's working flawlessly. I can fault their films because they definitely have an awful lot of flaws.
Well, let's hope it's not following that trend with the new Wolfman. I mean, I've because it's Lee Wanell again. I've got pretty high hopes for it when it's out in a couple of weeks. So I'm hoping that is at least as interesting as his Invisible Man was.
Yeah, I did finally get round to watching Invisible Man recently. Years ago, I'd seen like the first 20 minutes and just never got round to watching the rest. And it is very good. It's a very interesting take on it.
Basically,
I love the pace. I love the pace of it. How it makes you wait for kind of the kind of the happenings, basically. Just yeah, and that just throws everything at you when you least expect it. So
I remember watching that and then basically immediately going into COVID lockdown. So
yeah.
I was going to say it came out like January 2020, didn't it?
Yeah, it was March over here.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember when it was. I knew it was early 2020.
It was the last thing I watched before. All right. Well, I guess that's it for our 2024 roundup, and we missed a lot because lots of movies come out, but
we don't see all of them. We're 3 people and 2
only
of us
one of us
live
watches
outside.
new movies.
Well, like I have very limited access to them a lot of the time, and
I just don't watch them.
Well, Jacob, you have the least issue because I'm fairly sure you live right next to bigger cities than our capital.
I have the least obstacles, but Sam still beats me out.
Yeah, I know.
And that's working full time as well.
I know.
It's how I spend my evenings.
I was going to say I have other things to do. I have lots of books to read and papers to write. So that's my argument.
All right. Well, that's going to do that for this year. But next year we will be back with another roundup, and next week another episode. But until then, guys, where can people find you?
Yeah, so my final piece on the film magazine. You can go see those. So my full top 10 list is up there, as is my review of Sean Baker's Tangerine, which I sort of wrote in the lead up to Christmas, but because everything that was going on, we ended up publishing as I think one of the last things on the site.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're intrigued by the guy who did Anora, one of his earlier breakthrough films, then read that. You can find me across the internet at SSP Thinks Film, and where all my writing ends up on my blog, which is sspthinksfilm.com. So check that out for links to all my film magazine stuff, all my older reviews, and I do mini reviews on that as well. So if you don't like reading tracks and tracks of stuff, most of those are usually about 150 words, so to the point.
I don't do things to the point. Well, I lie. I either want to write about 2,000 words on how much I hate a movie, or I want to write just crap. I did at one point send Joe just like a joke review going, I know this won't get the algorithm. This movie, just put awful as my review. And it just blew it like that. I wish I could. I am K Judgmental across the various places, including the new Blue Butterfly, which is probably where I'm going to try and post now, because it actually kind of fact checks things with humans and not AI, apparently at the moment. On the final few things I did for TFM, I did Wallace and Gromit. I updated my Wallace and Gromit rankings. I also updated my Ghost Story for Christmas rankings. I don't feel to do that anymore. With the newest one, Woman of Stone. I'm in various other places, and I do want to give a shout out because earlier in the week we had published from Grendel Press, who I write for, a book called Masks, a little horror thing, and I was the editor on this. So this is my first piece of technically professional fiction editing, so I'm going to get the shout out.
Nice.
And it's really nice. It's a really small one as well, so it's kind of proper back pocket kind of size as well. It's lots of slashy and slicing and dicing. So please pick that up because it makes me look better.
Nice. You can find me at Jacob Film Guy. I just started a Substack with that name, so you can go check that out. That's where you can find my writing now. But of course, my old writing at the Film Magazine will be up until, hopefully, at least 2030 for sure, and maybe beyond. And as far as what I most recently wrote there, my queer review went up after I saw that. And then also you can read the final review posted on TFM. I think I officially landed that title, Nosferatu, which is, I don't know what our first...
Is that the sequel?
And what's a review to go out on?
Yeah, I don't know what our first one was, but I'm hoping it was like the original Nosferatu or some kind of horror film, something thematic with that.
I am going to say quickly, I'm very happy that as TFM winds down, for the moment at the very least, I gave one of only of 2 0-star reviews. One of them was one of the 50 Shades movies that somebody else did, and then I did Assassin Club and gave it a 0-star. So I am very proud to be part of that immortalized 0%.
See, I was much nicer. I don't think I ever went below a 5. I think the lowest one I ever published was Malcolm and Marie, I think, which I think I gave a 5 to.
I think 1 is my theoretical lowest. I know 0 would mean you didn't film it, and so I'm not watching it. That it's impossible for me to give a 0.
How many frames out of 24 you should watch?
Yeah,
was the idea, or is worth watching? And I'm like, nothing.
So yeah, go read all of our writing at our. Maybe there's a way where we can aggregate all of our blogs into a single blog. Who knows how that works.
I was going to say, maybe we should make a second cut Substack.
Yeah,
or something like that.
We'll figure that out. So keep a lookout, an ear out, keep your nose to the grindstone, whatever. Go support Joe and George and Margaret and Martha and Mark. Oh, who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting so many people.
Did Chloe do a lot of our socials at one point as well, I think?
Yeah, Katie. If I'm getting into people who aren't there anymore, gosh. I shouldn't have started naming names, but you know what? Go support. Go support all of us and whatever we're doing. And yeah, that is it. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.
Adios.